Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Rezolvians, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Rezolve. What happened today and what could be coming next. For Rezolve, this also applies to the broader markets. Now, we do have a little bit of news today. Rezolve did issue a press release. We're going to go over that, as well as some due diligence from Raji on X. If you are a Rezolve investor and you want more of a deep dive perspective around Rezolve, certain things, and when news comes out, give him a follow over on X. I'll share his account in just a moment. But, yeah. What a day. Rezolve down only 2%. Actually, it's not a bad day for Rezolve versus a lot of other stocks. But I do think people are getting a little frustrated with this market. They're starting to doubt this market more and more. And I think that's a sign that, again, in my opinion, you want to stay long the course here. Okay? Nothing has fundamentally changed with Rezolve, okay? That's the first thing I want to acknowledge. The stock has went from $8.45 down to $4.24. It's gotten a $15 price target, a $12.40 price target, $10 price targets, $7 price targets. Nothing has changed for the company, okay? Nothing has gotten really better or worse, okay, with the last couple of weeks. With that said, the price has fallen. I view that as an opportunity, as I have recently been buying the dip in Rezolve. Now, before we get into all of the information you need to know today, again, my projections, what I think is going to happen, what I think is happening right now, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and check that link out down below in the description of today's episode if you guys want to come join the trading community. Come invest with us. Come find these under-the-radar AI stocks in which I think Rezolve is, okay? Agentic AI has started to get more attention. You've seen OpenAI pursue this. You've seen Google add their, AP2 solutions, which is kind of like a verification process as they are partnered with Rezolve, okay? There's been a little bit of attention on agentic AI for commerce, but I think that wave is coming inevitably, okay? Now, let's briefly talk about what happened today in markets, okay? What happened today in markets was, it didn't look great. Okay, again, Rezolve down 2%. Russell was pretty volatile today. TLT was down a little bit. It actually recovered a lot from the lows. But what we're really reacting to is big tech earnings mixed with the Fed. Okay, and Apple and Amazon earnings today and after hours. We also had the Trump-China meeting. And let's start with the Fed. The Fed didn't really tell us any new information that we didn't already know in terms of they are data dependent. If the situation changes, they're going to change their, opinions, and they're not on a preset course. For whatever reason, maybe people thought they were, but the Fed reaffirmed that they are not, okay? So it does create a little bit of uncertainty for December rate cuts and the path ahead. We already knew that. Okay, so it really wasn't new information. The Fed announced the end to QT, which is actually really bullish, and they essentially say, hey, we're going to start a little bit of QE, rolling off their MBS payments into buying treasuries. That's actually a positive development. Now, Trump-China, rare earths, tensions are dying down. The tariff rates actually went down from 57% down to 47%. So really good news there. Trump said he had a productive, good conversation with Canada's prime minister. There's been some recent trade tensions there as well. Seem to be getting better. Okay, so the Fed, Trump-China, positive. Hyperscaler earnings, positive. Better than expected across the board. AI CapEx budgets are growing. AI is alive and well, which is really the main power source behind this market as of now. So all of these things are moving in the right direction but why are stocks continuing to decline? And honestly, there's not really a great answer for this. I think there's a little bit of a shakeout happening right now. Okay, I think a lot of investors are putting way too much emphasis on, certain dates and certain things, and I think we're just in a weird October volatility period. Okay, I think that period is going to pass. Okay, I think we're getting very close to the volatility period passing. There's also a little bit of uncertainty still around the government shutdown. Scott Bessent continues to come out and say, hey, the government shutdown is going to start eating away at the economy. It's going to start hurting the economy. And that's really uncertain as we don't have economic data. But we are heading into a very, historically positive period for the markets, which is November. November is the best month for stocks. December is historically the second best month for stocks. Okay, so we're leaving some of the seasonal volatility in October, heading into more of a directionally positive historical market in November and December. And we're getting these risk catalysts out of the way. Now, as we talked about in the video earlier today, the VIX EQ was down like 8%. Volatility is collapsing. The VIX was, down a little bit today, up a little bit, pretty volatile, but equal weight VIX is collapsing following hyperscaler earnings, following the AI commentary. Now, why did equal weight volatility collapse today? But a lot of stocks also fell today. That's interesting. I think it's a sign of the last shakeout that is here, okay? Because again, the Fed was positive. What they actually did, cutting rates, ending QT, very much a positive. Again, did markets react that way? Not really, because we were a little shocked to hear that the Fed is data dependent. But net, Fed was positive. Trump, China, very positive. Hyperscaler earnings, and specifically guidance around AI, very positive. This feels like a little bit of that last shakeout that is upon us, okay? And specifically today for Rezolve, I think it's a great sign to see the stock only down 2%, in which a lot of other AI stocks and small caps were down a lot more than that. Okay, so I think you're getting to, bit of a bottoming process in Rezolve. You could see Rezolve had the low of the day at $4.06 back on October 22nd. The low of the day today was $4.09, so you bounced a little bit lower than that low back on October 22nd. But a little bit of a double bottom pattern that seems to be emerging. Now, what does Google say about what does double bottom patterns mean in stocks? A double bottom is a bullish reversal chart pattern that signals the end of a downtrend and the potential start of a new uptrend. It looks like the letter W and is formed with an asset price falls to a support level, bounces back, and then fails to make a new lower low before rallying again, okay? Looks like a bit of a double bottom pattern is potentially forming here, okay? If you're looking at for the W, boom, up, down, and what could be boom, back up again, okay? Finding a little bit of what looks like demand and support around $4 per share as well, which is where your 100-day moving average currently is at $3.99, literally almost exactly $4 per share. So it looks like a little bit of a bottoming pattern also taking place on the chart. So from that perspective, looks good. Now, Rezolve did put out this press release today. They put out a lot of press releases. I don't think it's too impactful. Markets didn't really react to it too much. But Rezolve AI says in just 12 months, Mintra achieved a remarkable 35% year-over-year growth in image search traffic, significantly boosting conversions and revenue per user. The platform eliminated language barriers and keyword frustrations while giving Gen Z users the instant gratification they crave. This is the company that Rezolve is partnered with for image-based search, okay? It says Mintra simplifies product discovery and increases visual image search adoption by 35% year over year. It says Mintra partnered with Rezolve AI to power smart visual search, enabling users to find products instantly using photos or screenshots instead of typing keywords. Now, I actually commented on this, and I don't know why it took me all the way back here, and said, can we get a PR for a contract? And 6 people have already liked that. So go over and like the comment, because last time we specifically asked Rezolve to do something, they did it. And the last thing I specifically said to Rezolve was when they bought SmartPay and SubSquid. I said, hey, you know, the markets don't like the fact that you announced you bought these companies. You just raised capital, and we don't know how much you just paid for these companies. Can you please give us a little bit of a breakdown of that? And they did. And it seemed like the stock liked that to hear. They only spent $10 million and about $6 million worth of stock to acquire those assets. So, you know, Rezolve hasn't had any big news recently. They put out a lot of PRs, a lot of press releases, but it's usually not anything that is super impactful. We're probably due for a contract announcement or something more meaningful coming soon. Now, again, with the bullish kind of technical setup, looks like on the charts, the end of a downtrend could be coming, bullish uptrend could be in the works here. RSI currently sitting at 37. The stock is definitely on the more oversold side. And I think you're seeing this last shakeout on Wall Street, right? We're getting this good news. Stocks are not reacting how you'd expect. Volatility is collapsing as I thought. I think it is setting up for what could be a very strong Friday, as we talked about on Sunday, that could lead into a year-end rally. Again, what really matters? The Fed's continuing to cut. Yes, they're data dependent, as we know, but they're continuing to cut. Things are getting better with China. Tariff rates actually just went down. I think 3 weeks ago, a month ago, if we would have heard that China tariff rates fell 10%, stocks would have been up a lot more, right? So this is a little bit of a surprising reaction to investors, and that's leading to a little bit of the last shakeout. Okay, I think a lot of retail is saying, hey, we just had all of this good news and stocks are still not going up. That must be some kind of bad sign. That's just how the markets are sometimes, okay? But with the volatility collapse, with the good news that we are seeing, I do think the broader markets are gearing up for the end of the year rally. And I think, you know, you're getting to the last shakeout of the bears, if you will, that, you know, is going to ultimately lead to that. Now, we did get a new AI investor sentiment survey that came out today showing 44% of investors are bullish, 19.1% are neutral, and 36.9% are bearish. So for the first time in quite a while, you now have more bullish investors than bearish investors, but you're still sitting at very elevated levels of bears nonetheless, and pretty elevated number of neutral investors also. Now, today, again, in after hours, you have Amazon and Apple earnings coming out. So keep that on your radar. Following those earnings, I mean, your risk catalysts are really gone. Now, does the government reopen? If the government reopens, I think at this point, Wall Street would like that. And that could be an upside catalyst as well. Now, in Rezolve today, you have what looks like about 2.23 million shares that are being shorted, which kind of makes sense. Again, with a bit of the last shakeout, stocks coming under a little bit of pressure today, but you still only have 9.63% short interest of free float. So there's not a lot of bears, believe it or not, from an institutional perspective in Rezolve. 100% utilization rates as well, which suggests there's not a lot of shares that are freely trading out there. It's kind of hard to get your hands on shares of Rezolve. And again, back to the basic principle in Rezolve, the stock is trading at less than 3 times sales, right? Less than 3 times sales. The market cap is 1.3 billion. They guided for 500 million in ARR next year. The stock is the cheapest AI stock on the markets today, growing at what is projected like 300+% next year. The stock is dirt cheap. You're getting to this flushed out period and moment in which I think we are getting very due for a reversal. Now, Raji on X shares this whole post here. If you guys want to, go show it some love, go, share it to anyone that you might know that is invested in Rezolve, go ahead and do that. But he basically did a little bit of due diligence on the large language model that Rezolve has. And long story short, some good things came out of this. Okay. It looks like the BrainPower LLM is exactly as the company has said it is, that it's not just a wrapper around, ChatGPT, that it does actually have anti-hallucination workflows, so on and so forth. So go give this a read if you would like to, but a very positive conclusion ultimately for Rezolve's large language model, which is a part of the stack for the company that creates a little bit of the moat longer term for the company. Like, if Rezolve even was to be a buyout candidate, like, this is a very attractive part of it. Their large language model alone could be worth $1 billion, right? Which just, again, puts it into perspective just how undervalued I think the stock ultimately is. Now, again, we have to get through hyperscaler earnings today, Amazon and Apple, but I really do think we are set up for a strong Friday and this end of the year rally. And I think small cap AI stocks are the place that has been beaten down the most, that has the most to recover here in the very near term. Now, with that said, I put my money where my mouth is. Okay, that's definitely true. In this portfolio, I have 14,200 shares, average cost $2.99, market value $60,208, currently up 42%, or $17,946, okay? And it's 38.5% of this portfolio, this position in Rezolve. I do still have the Rezolve 250 calls, the February 20th, 2026, 15 of them. Current value is $3,000, up 90.48%, or up about $1,400. And I get a lot of people that ask, like, am I trimming Rezolve? Am I selling Rezolve here? No. I don't care what happens to price action. I don't care what happens in the broader markets, right? When I bought Rezolve, I was buying Rezolve at about 10 times price to sales, 7 times price to sales technically. The stock is trading at less than 3 times price to sales now. I don't care if the markets, why would I care what the markets think about the stock, right? I don't care, right? I bought the stock with a certain expectation. That hasn't changed because the company has only delivered, positive news thus far. Just the valuation has gotten cheaper. I view that as a buying opportunity, right? That's it. Now, in this portfolio, I have 15,000 shares. Average cost basis, $3.31. Current market value, about $64,000. And currently up $14,132 in this portfolio. It is 58% of this portfolio, so heavily weighted nonetheless to Rezolve. Now, in total, I do have another 1,000 shares in Webull and 1,300 shares in Thinkorswim. I have boosted my position now to an even 33,000 shares, times that by Rezolve's share price today. You're looking at about $140,000 in exposure in the stock. And I think the game is totally about to change for Rezolve. I think a massive rally is coming into the end of the year, which is going to send the stock over $10 a share. Okay? Because of all we've talked about in this video. Volatility is collapsing. Hyperscaler earnings, specifically around AI, nothing but great things to say. The Fed just gave us a rate cut with the end of QT and the start of a low-grade QE. Trump-China relations getting better. Tariff rates actually falling on China. The news, the setup is getting better and better and better. This is what could be the last shakeout for a lot of these small cap and or AI stocks. So let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. If you guys want to come join the trading community, check that out as well. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.